What's up everybody? Big Tex here, back with another video. I'm super excited to show you a new Procreate Brush Set I've been working on. It's a set of stamps of Hot Stuff Devils. I've separated the elements so there's heads, faces, torsos, legs, tails, and even a few extra surprises that you can mix and match to build your own little devils. I love using these as a reference and to get ideas and interesting combinations I might not come up with on my own. So let's jump into it. I've prepared this flash page of Hot Stuffs as a little example of how I use these brush stamps to create a fully finished sheet. So let's take a look. Let's open up the brushes and let's find a head to use. So as you can see, everything's all separated out. Let's go to head number 1. Now there's 2 ways you can go about laying these elements out. You can adjust the brush size over here and get different sizes that way. You can also stamp it and then use the selection tool up here and drag to adjust the size that way. I usually put each element on its own layer and then I use that selection tool so that I can adjust the size of everything independently and get each layer just right. So let's try that out with a face. Let's go to a new layer, go to my brushes, and let's do face number 8. I'm gonna stamp it and then use this to adjust the size until I think it looks about right. That looks good there. Now let's add the body, the legs, and the tail. Now we have our full little Hot Stuff. We can combine all those layers and move them around as one big piece and make some more. Now that we have a bunch of little custom Hot Stuffs that we built up, I'm going to use another one of my brush sets I've made, which you can buy on my website. I'm going to use my Big Tex Borders pack. So let's pull that up. Let's go to Big Tex Borders. And this is a pack of a bunch of flash borders that you can use to spice up your pages. There's different shapes, frames, stuff like that. And I'm going to use this border number 18. I'm going to go on a new layer, stamp it, and then fit to canvas. Let's bring down the opacity. It's not perfect, but when I outline everything, I'll fix some of these little parts. My process with any brush stamps or reference I use is to use it as a guide and then add my own flair to it. So I have my little devils laid out in the poses that I like. I have a border that I like. So now let's trace over it and add our own little flair. As you can see, I used my stamps to get the basic poses and proportions and then ended up with this. Something a little more my style. I like the heads and the horns, so I kept that pretty much the same, but I did a few things, made the eyes bigger, made some parts a little bit bigger, the hands, and just made it my own. And when I trace all those little Hot Stuff references I made, I end up with something like this. Now that my outline is down, I'm going to add my spit shade fades. When I do that, I end up with something like this. For the sake of this video, I'm not going to go into depth on how I outline my flash or do my spit shading. I have a whole spit shading tutorial on my channel that breaks it down step by step, so if you're interested, go check out that video. Now I'm going to work on coloring my background. So for that, I'm going to pick a gray, and I'm going to go to this brush set called the Rusty Nib. This is from a company called True Grit Texture Supply. I'll leave a link below. You can check out their brushes. Their stuff is great. I use it all the time. I believe I used this Bleedy pressure wash, as you can see. It's really inconsistent and organic. You can go over stuff multiple times and you get that nice organic watercolor stain look. So let's go to the layer that all my lines are on. Set that to our reference, and let's add a new layer. Now what this reference is going to do is it's going to use that layer as the reference when we select something, but we can paint on another layer. So what I can do is grab my selection tool, select that, and it's only going to select that little part outside of those lines. And when I go to my extra layer, I can color in and it's not gonna go outside the lines. So let's add this little wash. We'll do a few rounds on top. It doesn't have to be perfect. You want it to look splotchy. Now that I got that, let's draw one more line around our edge so that our border is a little bit thicker. When we do that, we end up with something like this. Our border is a little bit thicker and it pops out a little bit more. Now let's add some little shadows in these little corners so it looks like we have a little dimension, like we have a little 3D action going on with this border. For this, I'm going to use this standard pencil brush. It's from this company called Retro Supply Co. I'll leave a link below. You can check out their stuff. I even have a tutorial on my channel all about using these pencils to do color pencil style flash. So if you're interested in that, check that out. I can go through and just fade out a little bit with this colored pencil so that I have some dimension to this border. After I add all those little shadows and I adjust my blending modes of my layers, which I explain in my spit shading tutorial, I end up with something like this. As you can see, I used those stamps to lay out my page. I had a little reference. It helped me out with the proportions, and then I added my own twist to it. If you like what you saw and want to try these brushes out for yourself, check out the link to my website below and pick them up. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and make sure you check out some of those other videos on my page for more Procreate Flash tips. Thanks for watching.